Hello, my darling viewers. It's Jen here at Check Her Joy. This time I'm reviewing The Nutcracker. It's actually two different versions of the classic tale. The first one is by E.T.A. Hoffmann. It's The Nutcracker and the Mouse King, which was written in 1816. And the other version is The Tale of the Nutcracker by Alexandre Dumas, which was written in 1845. Yeah, Dumas, the guy who wrote The Three Musketeers. Both of these were written in other languages. I'm pretty sure Hoffmann's version was German and Dumas's version was French. They've been translated in this Penguin edition by Joachim Neugroschel, which I probably mispronounced. All the translators, authors are down in the description below. The Penguin edition also has like a forward essay describing the Nutcracker and how it became the famous ballet and the different renditions it's gone through and the history of the story itself. But we're looking at like the two original versions, or as original as we can get. This is kind of a dark story, very much like a grim fairy tale, where there are tons of like violence and very creepy elements. So it's a children's story, but it's also not like our clean Disney fairy tales at all. And it deviates from, and the ballet definitely like cleaned and polished everything up. This is definitely a very graphic story. The brief overview of this plot is that we have a young girl named Marie. She is gifted a Nutcracker on Christmas Eve. She falls absolutely in love with it. Her toys end up coming to life, and they battle the Mouse Army and the Mouse King. The Nutcracker eventually wins the day with Marie's help as she throws a shoe at the Mouse King, and that's what wins the battle. Marie is then rewarded by being brought into the land of the dolls, the Sugar Plum Fairies land, and it's a fantastical adventure. Both of these stories are darker and creepier than the ballet, though, and there's also an additional backstory about why the Nutcracker and the Mouse King are at odds and fighting, and how the Nutcracker came to become a Nutcracker. There are definitely some differences in the way these stories are told, the number of children that there are. So both Hoffmann and Dumas's versions center around Marie and her brother Fritz, who are two completely different type of children. Marie is very caring, very empathetic, very into nursing, helping others, very sweet, whereas Fritz is very much about joining the military and running drills and wanting to be in the army one day and playing war. So two different styles. They have their parents. In Hoffmann's version, there is also an older sister. And they also have their godfather, Drosselmeyer, who gifts them the Nutcracker. The Nutcracker is meant to be everyone's present, like the families, but because Marie takes such a special interest in it, she's kind of given special caring responsibilities for it, which she takes up happily. The moment she sees the Nutcracker, she's just absolutely in love with him. And when Fritz ends up breaking the Nutcracker by using a nut that is way too big, she's the one who nurses it back to health. And she's awake the latest on Christmas Eve to see the toys come to life because she was up late nursing the Nutcracker after everybody else had gone to bed. The battle itself, which in my mind, as a child, I always imagined to be the big part of the Nutcracker, is actually a much smaller part of both these stories. Yes, the toys come to life and it's magical and there's this vicious battle, but also it's a small portion of it. How much can I talk about without spoiling these books? Both versions see Marie waking up telling people her story of what happened the night before and nobody believing her. Her godfather hears her story and then tells her about this history between the Nutcracker and the Mouse King and why they are at odds with each other. And we go back to this tale of this beautiful princess, this baby called Prilipat, and how she's adored by everyone. But because her mother, the queen, gets into a fight with the Mouse Queen, Prilipat ends up suffering and gets attacked by the mice. Her mother is outraged by this and is told that there's this magical nut, like a Krakatoa nut or something, I think. I should have looked it up. Anyway, there's this really hard nut to crack, and it takes a special person to do it. So there's this prophecy of the one who can do it. And so after searching far and wide, they discover that Drosselmeyer's nephew actually fits all the criteria. So he is brought in, he cracks the nut, the princess is reverted back to her gorgeous form, but Drosselmeyer's nephew makes a slight error, steps backwards, and steps onto the Mouse Queen, who is not happy, so she curses the Nutcracker and changes him from a human into this toy, and he is forced to stay that way until a woman can fall in love with him. And I'm definitely getting into spoilers. The Mouse King ends up coming back. He is threatening Marie and blackmailing her for candy. Eventually she has another adventure with the Nutcracker. He takes her through this forest. It's the Kingdom of the Dolls and Christmas Tree Forest, and just sees all these wondrous, amazing things, the land of the sugar plums, basically, and has this fantastical adventure, and finds out that the Nutcracker has these sisters, and that he's actually the prince of this land now. Marie returns to her land, her time, and one day she's looking at the Nutcracker in the cabinet, makes her proclamation of how she'll always love the Nutcracker, and how she wishes he were human, and then he actually reappears. Drosselmeyer and his nephew appear at the door, and the Nutcracker is gone, having changed into a human again. And he whisks her off to marry her in a very creepy version in which a child bride is married off to a man older than her. Not a fan of that ending so much, but that's the basic rundown of the Nutcracker, which is a classic, so I kind of felt like I could go into spoilers. Sorry. Hoffmann's writing and Dumas's writing varies greatly. Hoffmann's is a little more to the point, and it definitely, like, he gets into descriptions and stuff, but not the way that Dumas, like, fleshes out every scene and starts adding in side characters and side descriptions and, like, going into people's histories. So I love Dumas's version more. There's also this bit in the beginning where he tells the story of how he came to retell it in the first place because he got kidnapped by these children at a Christmas party who demanded a story from him, and the only thing he could think of, basically, was Hoffmann's story, and so he starts telling them because there's this group of girls and guys, he's got to appeal both of them, so, like, the girl with the toys and the coming alive, but also the guys getting into the battle, which kind of cracked me up, so that's a delightful addition to Dumas's version. If you're only going to read one, obviously, I prefer Dumas's version, and obviously, I think you should all go watch my version of the Lego Nutcracker that I posted last week, because it's, obviously, I think it's amazing I did it. It's everything I think the Nutcracker should be. I'm not a huge fan of the Nutcracker ballet itself. Like, I love the music, but actually sitting through all of it at once and watching the ballet part is kind of boring to me. Like, I need story, and I need progression, and I need dialogue. So, I prefer these definitely more than I do the ballet. On the whole, I think that I ended up giving these both 4 stars out of 5, and I like digging into this and seeing exactly how creepy and gross and dark it gets. But there's also a lot of really funny scenes in here, too. Like, there's a moment where they enlist, like, there's a moment during the Mouse King battle where they enlist the help of the candy that's on the table, and as soon as the mice taste the sugar, they are completely distracted, and it allows the toys to kind of gain some more, and withdrawal, so they're not all completely destroyed at the expense of the cookies and the candy that get eaten, which I thought was absolutely hysterical. So, there's fun in these stories, too. And they're magical and entertaining. It's very much a fairy tale. There is my review / rundown of the plot of the Nutcracker, both by Hoffmann and Dumas. Let me know in the comments below if you've read any of these versions. What do you think of the ballet? And feel free to go watch my Lego version. Tell me what you think of that too, because obviously I spent a month working on that, guys. Please enjoy it. So, there's my review, and peace out. I love you guys. Keep reading, and Merry Christmas. Bye.